Hey Matt, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about the internet weather for this week and some of the changes that we're seeing, and actually was able to discover something new that I'd like to tell you about. So
Cool.
Let's get to it. So here is the usual. This is the top 10 most pro ports for the day, and you could see that one of the ports here, it's a port we're familiar with. That's 123 UDP. That's for the NTP protocol, the Network Time Protocol.
Yep.
It's jumped up a few places. We've seen it before. I just like to show you some charts about what we're seeing on that port today in terms of probing activity. And all these other ports, these are ports that we've seen all the time. There's no huge movement here. So let's look a little bit more at the scan probes on port 123 UTP. This is just the last 30 days, and you could see we see scanning activity all the time. But you could see, and that's quite a bit of UDP scanning activity here. And there's these three probably major spikes all of a sudden, and you might be wondering what's going on. So I went and I tried to look for all the different alarms that we were triggering for this, and I couldn't narrow it down to something specific, but I did find a security research firm, a well-known one, kind of doing scanning, probably for they're probably looking for open NTP resolvers. So they have a little cloud of scanners. So they're using this collection of scanners to basically scan the internet for this port.
So they're probably looking to find the open NTP resolvers so they can ask people to shut them down so they can't be used as a denial of service amplification vector, right? Most
likely that, or to sell them on their website, or access to the information on their website. So so that's those were the top scanned.
That, I see what you're getting at on this one. I'm dying to find out what that's about.
Yes, that's a great one. So this is the most sources probing. So we use this for, like we mentioned before, for our botnet tracking activity. And you see the one port that really just stands out is 9527.
There was a new port in the internet weather that went up around 900 spots, which I haven't seen in a very long time.
So this is what the scan probes looks like on this port. You could see that at a peak, and this is actually as of a few hours ago, there's up to 18 million scan probes. This doesn't mean how many devices, but this is how many devices there are. So at the peak here, about 13,000 devices per hour are scanning on this port. That means there's 13,000 devices out there suddenly all interested, and you could see it came out of nowhere.
Right, you have less than 1,000, I'd say less than even 100 based on what I'm seeing on that.
Right.
Sources interested in that until like 2 days ago.
Yep, exactly. So what happened? What is this all about? So I went and I took a look at all of the IP addresses that we're seeing. So this is a moment in time where there's about 11,000 different IP addresses. You could see how geographically dispersed there are, but there are some hotspots. I mean, you could see, I guess that's pretty much the Middle East and Europe there, and like Northern Africa, South America and the Asia region.
And not a lot in the United States.
Not too many.
Some hotspots, but not as much as you could see.
Yeah, and I wonder what that's about, right? So definitely some hotspots, and then some kind of barren areas where you might expect to see things there. We might even traditionally see things there, but we don't see them there now. So I went ahead and I looked at some of the sources, and I looked at this port. And one thing that kind of stood out to me is all of these devices had 554 TCP open, and that's the RTSP protocol. So it's usually, I believe, used for like DVR type stuff, or
cameras,
like webcams and stuff like that. So this is not a great sample. It's not a statistical sample. This is a random sample of 3 that I picked from the list. So I went to one of them. It gives you like this nice login interface. So some of them that one is actually for like a router. So there seems to be a combination of both DVR type things and these small home office type routers and maybe Wi-Fi access points.
Okay.
And then I started just Googling around 9,527 botnet. Let's see what comes up. And it looks like in 2017-ish, like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, a lot of people were talking about botnet affecting IP cameras or like DVRs probably spreading on
Okay.
this port.
On this
So this is kind of consistent with what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I'm seeing hidden telnet debug service on port 9527.
That's right.
Interesting.
So it might be that all of these devices are part of a botnet. That I'm confident in that. But the question is, what are they looking for on port 9527? So I think we're gonna find out. They're probably looking for this hidden debug bridge, and it kind of ties into what we were talking about with QBOT before. If you remember with QBOT, we said something old is maybe revamped a little and becomes something new. And it seems like this is, again, a very similar concept. So it does look like an IoT type of botnet that's there and is doing the scanning. And so it will be interesting to see what kind of malware this is.